Welcome to the Creators MBA podcast, your go-to resource for mastering the art and science of digital product entrepreneurship. My name is Dr. Destiny Kopp, and I help business owners generate consistent revenue from their digital product business without the need to be glued to their desks, constantly live launching, or worrying about the social media algorithms. I hope you enjoy our episode today. Hi there, Dr. Destiny Kopp here, and welcome back to the Creators MBA podcast. I'm super excited that you are joining me. And in this episode, I want to talk about where AI clones actually make sense in your business and when they really do not. Because by now, if you have been listening to this series, you can probably see the potential. You understand what an AI clone actually is. You understand why traditional courses struggle so much with implementation. And you understand why experts are cautious about control and their intellectual property. But seeing the potential doesn't mean that this is the right move for your work. In fact, I think one of the strongest signals that someone is thinking about AI responsibility is their willingness to say, this isn't for me, or this isn't right for how I work, or maybe it's not yet. So in this episode, I want to give you a way to decide where an AI clone fits, and just as importantly, how to recognize when they do not. So let's start with the good fits. AI clones work best when your expertise involves repeatable judgment. That means that you see the same types of situations over and over again, even though the details change. So you can recognize some patterns. You know what matters most in the questions that you're getting from your clients and students. And you often find yourself giving the same guidance. You just might be tailoring it just a little bit. And here's what that looks like in real life. For example, there may be a consultant who reviews proposals or strategy, and she keeps saying things like, before you change anything, check this first. Or this is where people usually overcomplicate things. Another example would be a coach who gets the same stuck points from clients every single week. Not because her customers are lazy, but because certain decisions are really hard to see clearly from the student's point of view. Another example would be somebody like an educator whose students, they don't need more content, they just need help applying the same principles to very different situations. In those cases, what the value is judgment, and that's where an AI clone can help. Another strong fit is when access to you is the constraint. If your people need your input to move forward, but you really can't be there every time that they get stuck, an AI clone can reduce friction without replacing you. For example, a leadership advisor whose clients are second-guessing themselves between the sessions. Or there's a strategist whose audience emails them with the variations of the same thing. Am I thinking about this right? Type question. Or a course creator who knows how their material works, but they see students get stuck when they try to implement alone. In these situations, the clone isn't there to teach something new. It's there to help people check their thinking before they get stuck. And that's a very different role than a chatbot or some type of content generator. Another place that an AI clone fits well in your work is when you need to support your clients and students with ongoing implementation and not one-time learning. If people return to you repeatedly to refine decisions, maybe check priorities, or they need to reorient themselves when things go awry, that is where courses, PDFs, and templates tend to break down. A clone, however, in this context, can act more like a decision support layer than a teaching tool. They're not there to say, here's the answer, but they're there to guide them and say, based on how I think about this problem, here's how I would approach it. And that's what the distinction is. Now, let's talk about where AI clones tend not to fit. And this is where things can go sideways. So I want to go into this in a little bit more detail. AI clones are a poor fit for exploratory or early stage work. So if your value comes from helping people discover who they are, what they want, what direction feels right, a clone might feel a little limiting to them and not helpful. So this can show up a lot in identity-based work or kind of early creative exploration or where there's open-ended ideation. An AI clone is not good at helping these type of situations. Now, another bad fit is when your thinking is actively changing. So if you're still questioning your own frameworks, you're revising your philosophy, or you're experimenting with new approaches, and all of that's perfectly fine, but encoding all of that thinking too early can freeze it. And I do see this mistake a lot. People want to capture their expertise before it's actually stable. And that can create a lot of pressure there. So clones work best when your thinking is already coherent and when you have a proven success record there. Another important boundary is around emotional presence. So think about therapy, sensitive coaching, or deeply interpersonal or trauma-informed work. Those rely on human attunement in a way that a system cannot and should not try to replicate. So even if the advice itself is sound, the delivery and your human involvement matters too much. So that is a boundary that I would respect there. Another misconception that I want to clear up is AI clones are not designed to be creative, original, or surprising. They are designed for consistency. So if you want that brainstorming, that ideation, there are better tools out there for that. And I personally create custom GPTs for that type of help for my students. So a clone is more like a compass, right? That you're guiding people on a proven framework. And if you expect the clone to invent that framework, that's not going to happen here. So here's one of the most useful questions you can ask yourself. Does my expertise rely more on judgment or on creation? If the value lies in applying principles thoughtfully and consistently over time, a clone may be a good fit for you. So if the value lies in creating something new every single time, it's probably not a good fit for you. There's also a readiness factor here that doesn't get talked about enough. AI clones require clarity. You need to be able to explain how you think, not just what you do. And if your expertise is mostly intuitive and hard to articulate, that process can feel frustrating instead of being supported to somebody. That doesn't mean that your work isn't valuable. It means that this may not be the right format for you yet. And there's one last boundary that I want to talk about. If you're tempted to use a clone to say things that you wouldn't feel comfortable saying directly to a person, I would put a pause on that. So the goal here isn't distance or depersonalization. It's consistency and access within those appropriate limits. So if something needs human responsibility attached to it, I would say it should stay human. Now, I want to talk a little bit about the lab, the AI clone implementation lab that I'm going to be doing the entire month of March. It is intentionally narrow and it's not designed for everybody. So I have designed it so it's small, structured, and really focused on people with a defined body of work. So it's for experts who are ready to formalize their thinking, not discover their thinking. It's also for people who care about boundaries. If you're excited about AI and you've been nodding your head along, and yes, this sounds like it's perfect for me, I think that is a very useful signal for you. And if you're hesitant or you're skeptical, that's not a problem either. It just means that you're really thinking about this very carefully. Because AI clones are not something that you would want to go in and build just to be building it. You want to make sure it's a good fit, because when it's a good fit, it can dramatically reduce friction in your business and improve implementation. And when they don't, it can create confusion with your customers and your clients. And I think knowing the difference is very important. So if you're asking yourself, Destiny, this is all good, I'd love more information, I have written a lot of articles about this on my website. I want to include some of those links in the podcast show notes. If you're curious about the lab, I'm going to put details there too, with a very clear explanation about who it's designed for and who it's not. Thanks so much for listening and have a great rest of your day. Bye for now. Thanks for listening all the way to the end. I hope you enjoyed this episode today. If you loved the show, I'd appreciate a review on Apple Podcasts or your favorite podcast platform. Have a great rest of your day, and bye for now.